It's 5:13 a.m. The kettle is on. The house is quiet in a way it hasn't been quiet in 14 months. You're standing in the kitchen in the same hoodie you slept in, and for the first time since yesterday morning, no one is touching you. No one is asking you anything. The dog hasn't moved, the baby monitor is silent. You take the first sip of coffee and something in your chest finally unclenches. And then a small, uncomfortable thought arrives. Why does this feel like the only safe hour of my day? That's what this video is actually about, not the hour. Why you need the hour? Because somewhere along the way, I want to be productive, and I need to disappear for an hour or I will lose my mind, started using the same words. And nobody's telling you the difference. So let's talk about it. Here's the thing the productivity people won't say. A chronobiologist at Ludwig Maximilian University in Munich named Till Roenneberg has spent his career studying when human bodies actually want to wake up. His estimate, based on decades of data, only about 15% of people are biological morning people, genuine larks. The rest of us, the other 85%, are running on what he calls social jet lag, living every single day in a time zone our body did not agree to. And for almost every health outcome he's measured, mood, metabolism, heart, cognition, the bigger the gap between when your body wants to sleep and when you make it wake up, the worse you do. Picture what that tax actually looks like. It's 3 p.m. You're staring at a spreadsheet. The words are sliding off it. You think you need more discipline. You need more sleep. A 2024 study out of Imperial College London, led by a researcher named Raha West, looked at around 26,000 people in the UK Biobank. Night owls scored 7 to 13% higher on cognitive tests than morning larks. The opposite of what every LinkedIn post tells you. The early risers weren't sharper. They just looked like the people we've decided to call sharp. So if waking up at 5 isn't actually making you smarter, and it might be quietly hurting you, why are you still doing it? That's where this gets honest. Now the part nobody talks about. There's a writer in Saigon named Lachlan Brown who did this for 2 years, up at 5 every morning to write before his daughter woke up. Month 8, the afternoon crashes started. Month 14, this low-grade irritability he couldn't explain. Month 20, he wrote that he was getting more done than ever in his life and enjoying none of it. He didn't connect any of it to the alarm clock until much later. His exact words afterward: "I had confused suffering with effort. I had confused discomfort with progress." Read that twice. If this video is for you, you felt that sentence. You just never had words for it. A mom of 2 in Toronto told a parenting magazine that before she discovered 5 a.m., she used to park herself in front of the TV with a big glass of wine every night because it was the only time she got to herself. Then she swapped the wine ritual for the wake-up ritual. The hour changed. The bottle changed. The need underneath did not. She called it restoring her sense of self, not optimizing, not winning the day. Restoring a self that had been absorbed. A college student I read about started waking at 6, then 5, just to be out of the bedroom before her roommate stirred. Years later, married, in a 1-bedroom, same alarm. The hour was never about ambition. It was about not having to arrange her face for another human being for 60 minutes. These aren't productivity stories. They're escape stories that found a respectable outfit. So here's the uncomfortable reframe. For a certain kind of person, and you know if that's you, the 5 a.m. ritual isn't ambition. It's a hypervigilance behavior dressed up as ambition. The body has something called the cortisol awakening response, a stress hormone spike in the first 30 to 45 minutes after you open your eyes. In most people, it's small. It just helps you get vertical. In people whose stress systems were tuned a little too high, a little too early in life, that morning surge is bigger, sharper, more electric. What that feels like from the inside is motivation, clarity, the everyone else is asleep and I am alive feeling that the 5 a.m. club books talk about as if it's a spiritual reward. For some people, it is. For other people, and this is the part I want you to sit with, it's the same wiring that's been running since they were small. You're 9. You hear the garage door at 6:15. You already know whether to be visible or invisible based on how the engine sounds when it cuts off. That's the kid who grew up to set a 4:55 alarm. The wiring that learned, around 6 or 7, that the safest version of you was the one nobody could interrupt. You learned that the version of you that didn't get yelled at was the one who'd already done the thing before being asked. Already dressed, already quiet, already ahead. Nobody calls that trauma at 5 a.m. They call it getting a head start. The kid who learned to be done with their homework before dad got home doesn't grow up to sleep in. They grow up to monetize the habit. There's a name I've started using for this: the hiding hour. It's the hour you've smuggled out of your own life and labeled it ambition so nobody, including you, has to ask why you needed to disappear. To be clear, not everyone who wakes up at 5 had a hard childhood. Plenty of people just like mornings and sleep great. I'm talking to a more specific person. You're the one who feels guilty when you sleep till 7. You're the one whose chest tightens on Sunday night not because of work, but because tomorrow you have to be on again from the second your eyes open. You're the one who has noticed quietly that you don't actually feel rested most days. You just feel ahead. You're the one for whom rest doesn't feel like rest. It feels like sliding backwards towards something you spent your whole life climbing away from. That's not a productivity problem. That's a 6-year-old's survival strategy that learned how to use a calendar. One last thing. There's a difference between I wake up at 5 a.m. and I am someone who wakes up at 5 a.m. The first one is a tool. The second one is an identity. And once it becomes an identity, you can't put it down without feeling like you're losing yourself, even when keeping it up is the thing actually making you lose yourself. That's the difference nobody's telling you. One is a tool, the other is a hiding place. A psychiatrist named Dr. Demetrios Tsattaris, who teaches at Northeast Ohio Medical University, wrote something last year that I keep coming back to. He said the answer to hustle culture isn't working harder to keep up with the people around you. That just makes you more anxious. The answer is slowing down enough to live a life that's actually consistent with what you value, not what's been prescribed to you. Which means the real question isn't how do I keep waking up at 5? The real question is, what is the thing in my life that I can only get at 5 a.m.? And why is that the only hour it's allowed to exist? If the answer is silence, maybe you need more silence in the rest of your day, not less sleep at the start of it. If the answer is solitude, maybe the problem isn't that you're not disciplined enough. It's that you're surrounded by people who don't know you need 10 minutes alone to be a human being, and you've been too tired to teach them. If the answer is, I just need 1 hour where nobody can ask anything of me, that's not a flaw in you. That's a sentence a 9-year-old version of you has been trying to say for 25 years, and 5 a.m. is the first place they finally got to say it out loud. The hour is not the prize, the privacy is. That's why it feels safe. Not because the morning is safe, because for 1 hour, you are. And once you know that, you get to choose whether the alarm at 5 stays, or whether you build a life where you don't have to disappear to be yourself.